Hey guys. Welcome. Thanks for being here. Audio check. Let me know if you can hear me all right. Make sure that the audio sounds okay. Again, thanks for being here. I'm going to check the audio real quick too. Yeah, sounds good. So welcome guys to the Michael Harper Spanish show. This is the second time we've done this. Got a little bit more of a handle on things. Happy Saturday. Happy Easter. We're going to do... Here's a schedule. We're just going to do like a quick Q&A. So feel free while you're here, whether you're on YouTube or Instagram, I'm streaming simultaneously on both of those, to leave a comment with any Spanish question that you've got. I'll be happy to answer it. Let me just make sure that I've got this set up good. But yeah, how's everybody doing? Let me know where you're from. Let me know how your day's been going, and let me know whatever Spanish question you've got. So feel free to leave anything in the chat. Especially if you're on YouTube. If you're on YouTube, go ahead and leave something in the chat just to make sure that everything in this software I'm using is working. So welcome everyone who's joining right now. Thanks for being here. Cool. Bienvenidos. So what we're going to do, again, we're going to start off with just a quick Q&A. Let me know anything you're doing. We're going to do a quick song breakdown as well. And I've got, a screen set up here to just help, explain any question that you've got. So hopefully it looks good. And again, if you're on Instagram, you might have a slightly better viewing experience on YouTube just because it's, horizontal layout and everything. So it's just going to look a lot better than if you were on your mobile phone on Instagram. The vertical camera can be a little bit hard to see for sure. So YouTube will definitely be the way to go. And make sure that you go ahead and subscribe to that channel while you're there. So again, my YouTube channel is Michael Harper Spanish. But if you want to just hang out on Instagram, that's perfectly fine as well. Soy de India. Tus videos me ayudan muchísimo para aprender el idioma. Gracias por todo. Gracias a ti, Sam Moves. Thank you so much. I appreciate that. I'm so glad that the videos are helping you out. How's everybody's day been so far? Feel free to comment in the in Instagram or YouTube, wherever you are. And again, thanks for being here. I appreciate it. So weird time to do this on a Saturday, I know, but you're probably out with friends. Maybe you're celebrating Easter. Pero vamos a practicar español. Let's practice some Spanish. So again, if you're not familiar with the show, basically this is a new show that I've got. It's going to be almost daily. And probably during the week, Monday to Friday, I'm testing out different times. So it's either going to be at like 2 o'clock Eastern time or 7 o'clock at night Eastern time. And then we'll do another stream most Saturdays as well, around like earlier than this time, earlier than like 11 a.m. or something like that. But yeah, this is a new show. We're just going to practice Spanish. We're going to answer any questions you guys have. We'll do some listening practice, some breakdown. Like today, we're going to do a breakdown of some songs. And the point of the breakdown on the songs is I'm actually going to give you some really important tips on how to take a Spanish song and actually be an active participant of the song, an interactive basically, I could, if I'm learning Spanish and I throw on a Spanish song, it's very easy to be like, oh yeah, I'm immersed in the language and yeah, I'm learning or studying Spanish or whatever, but you're really not doing anything if you're just hearing it, and even if you're just listening to it and you don't understand it, like I could throw on a song in Chinese and that doesn't mean that I'm learning Chinese just because I've got a Chinese song on. So I'm going to show you how I used to learn and use songs in practice. So, okay, I've got a quick question from Pramod. So, need some guidance on reflexive verbs. So let's do a little bit of, I'm going to do a little bit of a breakdown on reflexive verbs. I'm going to go into it like conceptually. I think that'll help you a lot. So reflexive verbs. I want you to think of these as mirror verbs. So what do you do when you look in a mirror? Obviously, you see a reflection. So reflection, reflective verbs, these are things that you do to yourself. Reflexive verbs, you do them to yourself. And Luke said, when do you say reflexive? Because it's not necessary sometimes. Yeah, I'll show you. So yeah, this is also has to do with, reflexive verbs. Give me a second to check on any YouTube comments I've got coming in. I just want to make sure that I don't miss any of those. So I don't think. So yeah, feel free to throw something in the chat on YouTube. But let me do this real quick. So yeah, we're going over a reflexive verb question right now, by the way, guys. So think of mirror verbs. When you look in a mirror, it's a reflection. You're doing it to yourself. So to make a verb reflexive, you put one of these in front of it. This is what you put in front of it if you're using vosotros, if you're in Spain, but I'm just not going to focus on it today. It's not going to make a difference. If you're in Spain, if you're using vosotros, then by all means, use os. I teach Spanish, whether it's Latin American Spanish, Spain Spanish, it's all the same thing, really. But I'm just going to focus on these. So me is what we put in front of verbs for the yo form. Te is what we put in front for the tu form. Se is for, el, ella, an object, usted, even ellos, ustedes. So anything just third person. And then this is what we put in front of verbs for nosotros. You can make any verb reflexive. So a lot of times they'll teach you in like school and whatnot that there are reflexive verbs and then there's non-reflexive verbs. And I don't like this definition, really. I don't like that. I think that it helped me a lot conceptually just to understand that any verb that's non-reflexive can be reflexive and vice versa. If you take a verb like despertarse, this is always taught as a reflexive verb for the most part because you wake up is something that you do to yourself, right? But you could also make it non-reflexive if you wake somebody else up. So any verb that's reflexive can also be non-reflexive. Me desperté. I woke up. So we conjugate despertar. This part of the verb in the past preterite tends to say not wake up, but woke up. And then since I woke up, I put the me here from up here. I make it reflexive because I woke up. I did it to myself. What if I woke my dog up? I woke my dog up. Okay, so we're still using the verb despertar, but it's no longer reflexive. Not anymore because I did it to someone else. I didn't do it to myself, or the dog didn't wake up. So this would be desperté a mi perro. And notice none of this is being used in this example because it's no longer reflexive. If the dog woke up, though, it would be reflexive. The dog woke up. Se despertó el perro, because the dog is now mirroring the action. He's doing it to himself. It becomes reflexive now. So again, just to kind of highlight it, despertar se. This se here implies that we're making the verb reflexive. So me desperté is because I woke myself up, but I woke my dog up. We don't have any of these things here. None of it here. But when the dog wakes itself up, then we are going to make it reflexive. So hopefully that helps. And just a quick example of using a verb that's typically not reflexive and making it reflexive. You've got a verb like hacer, to do or to make, just depending on the context. It can be either one. If I say I made pasta, hice pasta, right? But if I wanted to say I made myself pasta, it's kind of the same thing, but we're making it reflexive now because now we're doing this thing to ourselves. This action that's typically not reflexive is now reflexive. It's just me hice pasta. And we put this me here in front of it, right? She made herself famous. se hizo famosa. And we put the se here because she did it to herself. So hopefully that helps you conceptually. Glad that helped, Pramod. So if you're on Instagram, I'd recommend you going over to YouTube. Hi, Christina, by the way. And you can leave comments there. I'm able to put the comments up easier on YouTube. It's easier to see this stuff too. It's not on the vertical screen. So you're just going to get a better viewing experience if you go to YouTube. Subscribe while you're there as well. Again, this is going to be an almost daily show, the Michael Harper Spanish Show. While I'm waiting for any other questions to come in, again, our schedule today is we're going to do, we're going to keep doing Q&A for a little bit longer. And then after that, I'm going to show you how to break down songs and how to use songs. And I promise that if you just take a song today and you sing it over and over again and you do what I tell you to do in a second, your Spanish is going to get a lot better and more fluent. So, yeah. Thanks for being here, everybody. Just while I'm waiting on any other question you might have to come in, make sure that you check out my free training. I show you my methodology, my 3 strategies that helped me become fluent in Spanish within a year. It's going to show you what you should and shouldn't do if you want to become fluent in Spanish. So make sure that you click on the first link in my bio on Instagram, or if you're on YouTube, just in the description, you'll be able to sign up for that today. It's about 30-45 minutes long, but welcome, guys. Let me know any questions you have in the comments, whether you're on Instagram or YouTube. If you're on Instagram, you might want to go over to YouTube, unless you can see the screen, in which case you're good. So how about with verbs like arrepentirse and others like this? So those are verbs that typically, if you think about it, I mean, you got a verb like arrepentirse, to regret. And so just think of, in Spanish, it's not really like, in English, it's I regretted this thing, but in Spanish, it's kind of like a deeper meaning. It's like you yourself regretted the action. So it's technically, when you regret something, it is an action that you do to yourself. And so those are kind of like going to be just some exceptions where, it's not the type of verb that you can really do to someone else. You can only regret to yourself. If that makes sense. It's kind of weird. Yeah, you can absolutely. No. So I think what you're trying to say is like, okay, so this is the dog woke up. So you have to conjugate despertar based on the subject doing the action. So here I conjugated despertar to wake up, as in I did the action. I woke up to my dog. Whereas the dog, despertó, is in the third person conjugation in the preterite because the dog did the action of waking up to himself. Se despertó. So just conjugate whatever the reflexive verb is in that, for that subject, in that proper tense, and then you just add one of these depending on whoever it is. Question from Instagram. I always have trouble with the imperfect and indefinite for the past tense. Me gustó, me gustaba. So really what you're asking is, we're going to do preterite versus imperfect. I'll show this in a second. Oh, I got another card. Let's see. Go into detail about se me hace, se te hizo, and the different uses, please. This one helped me a ton. Okay. Se me hace. I'll go over that in a second. That's a good question. And I'm going to take a minute to think about that too, because I've kind of got an idea of where I'm going to go with that question. Let me start off with the preterite and imperfect, just because I feel like I've got a good explanation of this. I'm not going to go into like extreme detail with these necessarily, but like for preterite and imperfect, obviously this is the past tense. Here's my general guideline I want to leave you with today. If you get nothing else out of this preterite imperfect explanation, it's this. I got my keyboard in Spanish. I'm trying to find like the star button. Use imperfect when in doubt, unless you are sure it is preterite. What is preterite? Preterite is a completed action. So I just always would default to the imperfect unless you know that it was a completed action. Okay. Because if you do that, you're never really going to be wrong, right? Because if you always have this go to of like, hey, I'm going to use the imperfect unless I know that it's a completed action, then you're never going to really be wrong. And there's always a gray area, by the way. There's always a gray area sometimes when they're like telling stories where it could be preterite and it could be imperfect too. So it's not always like a black and white issue. It's not always it has to be this or it has to be that. Some situations it is for sure, but there are some situations where it could kind of be either one. So let me give you an example. Think of the difference between I ate versus I was eating. I ate is preterite. I was eating is going to be imperfect. So imperfect is for actions that are technically ongoing. It's also always going to be triggered by always did something or used to do something. And then preterite is more like done. It's done. It's over with. If I say he went versus he was going, like which one's going to be preterite and which one's going to be imperfect? Well, this one's going to be imperfect. He was going, and this one's going to be he went because he did it. It's over with. If I were to say like, while I was taking out the trash, my friend called me. So this first part, we've got taking out the trash. This is the first verb. This is imperfect. If I had said I took the trash out, that's preterite. So it's the difference between was taking something and then took. So I was taking out the trash versus I took out the trash. Like that's what we're looking at here. My friend called me, that's preterite because he called me, and we're implying by putting that verb in the preterite that it was done. Like he called me and then I answered it and then we hung up. I could say my friend was calling me and conjugate it in the imperfect and be like, oh yeah, my buddy was calling me. But it just changes the meaning slightly. It changes kind of the story. Where if I go, hey, he called me, or hey, he was calling me. I mean, it's one of those where it could be either one. It just depends on how you want to tell the story. So hopefully that kind of helps you just a little bit with the concept of it. Let me know if you have any other questions about that or if that kind of cleared it up for you. Let me keep scrolling down. Okay, I don't see any other questions on Instagram for the moment, so I'm gonna. Actually, I do. Luke, why not le desperté a mi perro? It could definitely be that. Yeah, le desperté a mi perro or lo desperté. That's fine. Got it. Let's see. Been trying to trill my R's, but can't get it. I can't continuously roll my R's either. I don't know why. I think it's just a genetic thing with my tongue and mouth. I've tried so hard. What I do is like, let me show you. This screen will be easier. All right, so if this all right, let's say that my wrist is like where my lips are, and then this is like the top of my mouth, right? And so my throat would be here. If these are like my teeth, your tongue, for when you roll your R's, you want it to be right behind your teeth at the top of your mouth. So the idea is that you let in a lot of air and then it vibrates your tongue, this being my tongue, obviously. I like when I do it, my tongue doesn't vibrate. The tip of my tongue doesn't vibrate. It's really hard. And so what I do is I just start farther back in my mouth and I just do one or the motion. You never have to like continuously roll your R's in Spanish. It is absolutely unnecessary. The only time you'll hear someone do that is if they're like showing off or if they're exaggerating something. It is never, ever needed. So you just have to imitate the sound as best you can, make it sound as good as you can. And that's what I did, and it sounds good. Let me just scroll down. Okay, cool. I'm gonna get to some of these questions on YouTube now. So let's see. This might be a stretch, but depending on how long you plan on staying live, could do some listening practice. Yeah, sure. I'm gonna do a little bit of a song breakdown. So this is kind of like the schedule is just getting through your questions and then breaking down your song. a song, and it's gonna kind of be some listening practice as well. But I'll kind of make up a story for you guys too. And um, let me get back here. I wanted to kind of get to that question is interesting. So um, Carter, I like to think about Preterite being a still photo and perfect being real view. Cool. Yeah, if you're a visual learner, then that might be a good tip for you. So you've got these phrases that are really weird. And if you were like, I don't want you to freak out if you see these types of phrases because these are, I mean, obviously, Carter, your Spanish seems really good because you know these types of phrases. But if you don't, then I don't want you to like freak out. Uh, there's some phrases in Spanish where you've got se me olvidó, se me perdió, se me hizo. Um, I do not associate these phrases with reflexive verbs. Okay. These are just phrases you kind of have to get the feel for them. I don't recommend trying to make a lot of sense of them. If you've got a phrase like se me perdió, this means I lost. You might ask the verb being perder, could you say perdí to say I lost? Absolutely. But saying se me perdió versus perdí just implies a slightly different feel. If I lost my phone and I say perdí mi teléfono, it implies that I was the one that lost it. When I say se me perdió, notice that we're conjugating se perdió kind of like as a reflexive verb, but we're conjugating it for the phone. The difference is this is I lost, this is he or she lost, or it lost. So I'm implying that the phone lost itself to me. It's like it wasn't my fault that I lost my phone. It's just the phone got lost and then I was the victim of that. So in Spanish, nothing's ever your fault. Like if you say se me olvidó implies that whatever that thing is that I forgot, so I'm not saying olvidé, that thing got forgotten and I was the victim of that. That's what it means. Se me hizo tarde is a really weird phrase and it makes no sense translated. So don't translate this. Like just memorize how to use it and then just start using it is how I would recommend with some of these types of phrases. So like se me hizo tarde is it made itself late to me, or it got late out of nowhere and it wasn't my fault. Like I didn't lose track of time. It's like the time made itself late to me. It's so weird. And there's only a few phrases like this, guys, so don't freak out if you're like, what the heck is going on? Um, I know, I know. Let me see some of these other comments. Yeah, so if you say like se te hizo complicado traer a tu perro, like it got complicated, did it? It's like asking, did it become complicated to bring your dog? You know, it's just you could say something like. You could even say se te complicó, like did it get complicated for you? Or you could say just simply word for word like in English, was it complicated to bring your dog? Fue complicado traer tu perro. It's okay to say that. It just makes it sound a little cooler, like what you're saying, to say, hey, se te hizo complicado, or hey, se te complicó traer a tu perro. It's like, it wasn't your fault that it got complicated. You were a victim of something complicating itself. Nothing's ever your fault in Spanish, which is nice. Absolutely, Carter. Your Spanish is really good, so whatever you're doing is working. Keep it up. Say other than reflexor is the most difficult word to understand in their uses. Yeah, there's like a whole book like this thick on the word say in Spanish. I would never recommend reading it or touching it. Native speakers don't understand it. They just know how to use it. And so what do I recommend you do? Figure out the situations that trigger the use of say. Some of it include reflexive verbs when you're using like third person subjects. Third person subjects just meaning él, ella, usted, ellos, ella, so he, she, them, they, etc. Talking about things in general, like ¿cómo se dice? Why is it that when we want to say how do you say, it's como se dice? Why not just say como dices, right? That's how I would translate it word for word being an English speaker. And you 100% could say como dices. How do you say? But if we're talking when we say how do you say, it's like we're trying to say how does one say. We're trying to talk more generally. So that's what this means. How does one say? Or how is it said? Como se dice? So anytime you want to ask something in general, just put the word say in front of a verb that you conjugate in the third person tense. Like if I wanted to say, how do you cook rice? But I'm not asking like how do you specifically cook rice? That would be como cocinas arroz. I'm asking how does one cook rice? How is rice cooked? So I would just say how, como, se, to talk in general, and then cocina, just conjugate in the third person. So, and there's a couple other uses of say, like what we talked about before. But again, just look up phrases and situations that trigger it rather than trying to like understand grammatically what the word say is. Yeah, like Carter saying there's an accidental say, and that's kind of what we were talking about earlier. Qué bueno, Carter, le echo ganas al español. Así es. Let me check some of these Instagram comments, make sure I didn't miss anything. Thanks for being here, everybody. I appreciate you being here. Feel free to go to YouTube if you want just a little bit, if it's easier to see the screen for you there. If you do go to Instagram, subscribe while you're there as well. Also, if you're on YouTube right now, like the video so that other people can see this and hop in, and make sure that you're subscribed to the channel. All right, I'm gonna keep on answering any of your questions. What I'm going to do now, lo que voy a hacer ahora, is we're gonna do a little bit of a song breakdown slash listening practice type thing. I think this is gonna be really valuable help. Let me pull up this song that let me pull up something real quick, guys. Okay. So I haven't taken that exam because here's the thing about exams, unless like you're required to by a job or an education program, why would you take it, you know? Like I've worked as a Spanish interpreter, like literally answering phone calls from Spanish speakers, interpreting it to English and back and forth. I've never taken any exam. You don't need to. If you just put on your resume fluent in Spanish, you don't need any sort of certification or anything. And if anything, maybe the certification kind of makes it look like, okay, this guy might not know it as well because he had to take an exam for it. People just, if you say you're fluent in Spanish, you'll be able to prove it. And I don't see the point of a lot of exams sometimes. So we're going to look at this song just because I think it's got some really good vocabulary. And I'm going to show you what you should do when you learn songs in Spanish. And I think that this is something cool that you could practice for the rest of your day. Unfortunately, I'm not going to play the song. I wish I could. I do that in my weekly live sessions with my students because they're on Zoom calls and I can play songs and do this type of stuff all the time. But when it comes to this show, just for copyright reasons, it's not a good idea to like. I don't want to get my Instagram and YouTube like banned or anything from just playing a Carol G song, right? But we can at least look at the lyrics and you can go listen to it in your own time. So this, if si antes te hubiera conocido, just from this one like line here, um, you can get a lot out of it, and you can apply these lines to your life. So what I like about picking a song is pick a song that you find, you know, kind of fun to listen to, but you have to sing along to it. You have to speak it out loud. You have to listen to it over and over again until you can understand what's being said without having to translate. And you want to take these phrases and change them. So what does this mean here? Um, let me do something real quick just so I can annotate on the screen. Real fast. Just give me 1 second, guys. Try to make this as good as I can. Keep those questions coming in, guys. I'll answer them. Okay, here we go. Now I can actually write on the screen like before. Si antes te hubiera conocido, if before is if si antes, right? I'm not really concerned about that, but te hubiera conocido, this means if I had met you before. If you're not there with like the subjunctive mood, the subjunctive conjugation of verbs and whatnot, it can seem really confusing because what is the subjunctive? Subjunctive, it technically exists in English, but the conjugation is literally the same pretty much for every verb in regular conjugations versus subjunctive conjugation in English that we don't even notice that we use it. And so what it is um, things that aren't real. So if I said, if I had met you before, this is a situation where conceptually it's not real because if I had met you before, I would have met you before and that would have made it real. So what I recommend doing with the subjunctive though is just finding phrases that trigger it. So this is one of those phrases. So if I had met you before, so what can you do? This is a phrase that's kind of like saying te he conocido would mean I have met you. I have is a, meaning the I have done something. Met is conocido. So it comes from the verb conocer, and we make it in the past participle form, the past tense version of a verb, which is really easy to do. You just make it ido at the end or ado at the end, depending on if it's an AR or IR verb. And so this is saying, this is a, I have met you, really había, but whatever. The hubiera is how you use the subjunctive of this. I have met you or I had met you, and it's conjugated as hubiera. So what could you do to, like, imagine if you had this type of phrase muscle memory in the back of your head. You didn't have to translate it word for word. You didn't have to go, oh, if I had done something. You're able to just go si hubiera followed by whatever verb you want to put in the past participle form. You could say, what if I had not eaten that chicken? Si no hubiera, comer is the verb to eat. So we just got to put it in the past participle form. Si no hubiera comido ese pollo, I would feel better. Or I would, I don't know, whatever you want to say. If I hadn't. Or if I had arrived on time, whatever. Si hubiera, because again, we've got the si hubiera on lockdown, on muscle memory, because we've sung this song, we've heard it 100 different times. So now we can just literally, like a formula, just put this here, followed by a verb in the past participle form. Si hubiera, llegar is to arrive, it just becomes llegado. So hubiera llegado a tiempo, if I had arrived on time. And so just from like the title, just from like parts of the song that we listen to, we can already get a lot out of it. Again, we're active participants of the song. Again, like I said earlier, if you weren't here, I could play a song in Chinese in the background. Does that mean that I'm learning Chinese? No. I get nothing out of it, right? Unless I take what I'm learning, take what I'm listening to, apply it, speak it, make my own phrases out of it afterwards, add in my own verbs, my own subjects, and apply it to my own life. And now all of a sudden I'm an active participant of what I'm doing. So think about, we just talked about hubiera, if something had or had. Que hubiera sido? What would it have been if I had known you before? This is a great phrase if you're working on the subjunctive mood. There are other probably easier songs, but we can take a lot of just these simple phrases out of here and make them our own. So I'm not necessarily going to like go down and translate every single line or like break down everything, but usted cerca me pone peligrosa. I mean, it's a weird phrase, but you close puts me or makes me dangerous or feel dangerous, whatever. Por un besito, for a little kiss, hago cualquier cosa. Kind of a weird thing, I know, but I'll do anything. But think of like what can how could I make this, like, maybe hopefully this doesn't apply to your life, but how could we make this type of phrase apply to your life? maybe I could say for $1, I'll do anything. Por un dólar, or por un, for you know, whatever, for whatever person I would do this, or por ti, for you, I do anything, and just knowing like how to say cualquier cosa, meaning anything, is good, because the thing is that when we use songs and we sing along to them like this, we don't have to like we don't have to translate as much anymore. Like, so much of a language, the things that I'm saying now, am I having to think about it, what I'm saying in English, or is it just muscle memory? Is it just stuff that I've heard and said so many times before? Now, thankfully, we can use conjugation patterns and conjugation charts and all of that to make it a much more efficient and easier learning process when it comes to a new language. But yeah, muscle memory is what we're trying to get with songs and with these types of phrases. Um, and so you can look up like the lyrics and the translations in English. I think ChatGPT is an amazing resource when it comes to translating and checking your work and things like that. But I mean, that's what I want to really make sure that you get out of just any song. Take a song, listen to it, speak it over and over again, and you'll feel a lot better with it. Let me take some of these comments from Instagram I'm getting, just to make sure that I get through some of you guys' questions. While I'm looking for some questions, guys, make sure that if you haven't seen it already, check out my free training. I'm sure you'll get a lot out of it if you're serious about this whole Spanish thing. Links in the first link in my bio on Instagram, or if you're on YouTube, it's in the description. So, ¿crees que el mejor método para aprender es ver películas con subtítulos? I never was like a movie guy. So what I did with movies, when it came to using movies in Spanish, I never really did it that much. And when I did do it, I would just take like one scene of a movie, write down everything that they said, and then try to act it out with them. So again, it's all about being an active participant of the language. I could, if I don't know a lot of Spanish and I play a movie in Spanish, what am I getting out of that if I can't understand anything that they're saying? Right? So no, I didn't use movies that much. I don't think that it's a bad thing. Definitely watch it with subtitles so you know what's being said. But like, how can you actually make it a useful practice? And the answer is probably just watch what you can understand. Watch a 2 to 3 minute clip of something, and then watch it on repeat over and over again. Qué casualidad, estaba pensando en esta canción, estamos aquí aprendiendo la estructura. Awesome, Shush. I like that song. It's a guilty pleasure for me. Let's check out some of these comments, guys. So yeah, what else you got, guys? How are you guys feeling? What other Spanish questions do you have? Hopefully you've enjoyed this. The recording of this episode will be automatically uploaded to my YouTube channel. So if you got here late, if you missed anything, it'll be there. This is going to be an almost daily show. So this is going to be something that we do a lot in the future. And I'm not sure when exactly yet. I'm not sure if I'm going to have a fixed time. I'm leaning towards evening Eastern time, like 7 o'clock during the week. So, well, awesome, guys. Okay, I got a new comment. Dang. Well, Cart, I mean, yeah, like if movies work for you, great. I think for a beginner, it's not the best thing. It could be, but to each their own. Everyone's going to learn slightly differently. For me, the biggest thing for me was conversations. I would and texting people. So I'd find a lot of people I could text every day in Spanish. To me, the best way to practice is just forming your own sentences, right? So making sure you form your own sentences, whether that's texting, writing your own stuff, speaking out loud is huge. So Exactly. Appreciate you guys being here. I'm gonna hang this up again. If you haven't already, make sure that you check out that free training. I've also got if you're interested in my full Spanish program, AZ Spanish University, I'm running a discount more than 50% off until tomorrow night. So I'm going to post something like that on my story and Instagram over the next probably sometime this evening or tomorrow. So if you're interested in that, that'll be a good way to check it out. Other than that, I will see you guys. Also, if you sign up for the free training, you'll get the discount off of the program. And at the end, you'll learn more about that, my full Spanish program, if you're interested in it. So maybe you're not on my email list or anything, but yeah, that free training, you'll learn more about it and you'll get that discount. But again, enough about that. Thank you guys for being here. This is going to be an almost daily thing. I won't be live tomorrow. Happy Easter, everyone. Appreciate you being here. The recording of this episode will be on my YouTube channel. Ciao, nos vemos. Bye.